Hey guys, it's Marley from Kale and Krunches, and welcome back to my channel all about fitness, lifestyle, motherhood, and realness. Today is one of the last days of 2019, which is insane because we are about to enter a brand new decade. And I don't know about you, but it kind of feels like no one's making a big deal about this whole new decade thing, but it is something I have been thinking about a lot lately. Forget 10 years ago. If you were to ask me where I was like 5 years ago even, I would say in university. It really feels like that part of my life and that chapter of my life was 5 seconds ago, and I can't believe that looking back full 10 years, I wasn't even in school anymore. So the past 10 years have really been about my growth in entering into adulthood, and so many crazy life changes have happened in the last 10 years. Like I said, I left the student world, I left grad school with a master's in cinema studies, so random. The only thing I could say I applied to is YouTube, kind of, but I left the student realm and joined the workforce. I met my future husband, we broke up for a year, we got back together, we got married, we had a baby, we bought a house. I traveled all over the world, from India to Thailand to New Zealand for a month by myself. And of course, I made a crazy massive career change. So it's safe to say a lot has happened in the last decade. The reason why I wanted to make this video today was to talk about some of the lessons I've learned in the past 10 years, because there has been so much change as I went from 22 to 32. I can sum them up into 5 lessons, and they kind of might sound like really generic things, like generic one-liners you might see on Pinterest, but I'm going to give personal examples as to how they apply to me and how they could probably apply to you. So let's get right to it. The 5 lessons I learned of the last decade. These are in no particular order, but lesson number 1 is the easiest way out is often the less fulfilling. So how this applies to me is that in things like university and school, I always kind of took the easy way out in getting good grades, in the sense that I took the courses that I knew I would do the best in based on my skills. And that was things like essay writing and multiple choice I was awful at, so things like science and math, forget it. But I was really, really good at anything with an essay. I could do well on an essay, I could write really well, I could do well on an exam if it was essay type of questions. So I ended up taking film in school because I knew that it was all like essay work and I would do well in that, and I ended up getting my master's in that because I didn't know what I wanted to do after university, and it just kind of felt like the easy way out. So I am proud of that, but at the same time, I wasn't necessarily interested in film, and it was kind of like, I don't know what I want to do, so I guess I'll just go do more school and kind of figure it out. From there, I also didn't know what I wanted to do again, and then my dad offered me a job at a company, so that was like another easy way out. I got a job really easily, and I didn't like what I was doing. It was real estate. I really didn't have an interest in it, but again, it was like easy way out, easiest route, and it was just not fulfilling. So I really learned that the easiest way out, although it can be so tempting, can sometimes just be the least fulfilling. And then, you know, doing something like I did with my massive career change and going into fitness and health and all of this obviously was so much harder, and is so much harder, and it's something I'm struggling with every single day, and I'm constantly working on and constantly feel like I'm failing and falling on my face, but it is so much more fulfilling. And when it came down to like making my first, you know, $100 in Kale and Krunches versus my first, you know, $10,000 in real estate, I felt so much more proud of the money that I earned and the income I earned in Kale and Krunches, because it was literally like my blood, sweat, and tears going into all of it, versus just taking the easy route. The second lesson I want to share with you is that if you're ever afraid to do something, just ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? This is literally how I quit my job to do Instagram and fitness full time. I asked myself, what is my worst case scenario? And I have a video all about how I left my corporate job to pursue my dream job, and I talk a lot about that. But this is now something that I just ask myself on a daily basis. In the example of leaving my job, it was, okay, if I leave real estate to pursue fitness, my worst case scenario would be that I'd be homeless on the street, no food, no shelter, nowhere to live, because I was afraid of upsetting my dad. I was afraid of not making any money in this business. But if those two things happened, at the end of the day, would I ever end up homeless on the street? That is my rock bottom worst case scenario. No, under no circumstances would that ever happen. So if that worst case scenario possibly can't come true, then you gotta go for it. third life lesson of the decade I want to share is that consistency is key to any type of success. This is one that I definitely have to work on a daily basis, but I can give you a couple examples of how it is applied to me. The first time I went spinning, I absolutely hated it. Actually, like the first 10 times, I despised it. But I knew there was something about it that made me want to get better at it and be successful in it. I saw my friends doing it. It felt like a dance class. It was so fun. I just sucked at it so badly, kind of like how I am at running right now. But I just knew that if I gave it an effort and I consistently kept it up, I would get better at it. I ended up becoming great at it, winning best spin instructor in Toronto. I went from hating it to like this, huge, well for me, huge award or accolade. But that's because I just kept it up and I was consistent and I never stopped. And that was one example of how consistency can make you successful. Another example is my Instagram account. When I first started, I had 0 followers, but I didn't care. I was consistent with it. I posted and posted and posted. When no one was watching and no one was reading and no one cared, I was consistent to be able to eventually do it as my full-time job. So there's other areas in my life that I want to be more consistent with. Things like meditating and my mindfulness practice, things like drinking more water, like little things like that. But at the end of the day, consistency is key to any success. Get rid of that all or nothing attitude. It's about what you do the most consistently that will lead to big results, big changes. The fourth life lesson of the decade I want to share is to listen to your gut, because it's almost always right. Even though it might seem like logically the wrong thing to do or the wrong answer, or people might think you're crazy, if you have something in your gut, I say listen to it. The example I can give you with this is DC. We started dating kind of back in 2010, so 10 years ago, and on our first date, he told me that this was never gonna go anywhere because he was traveling the world for a year. And I thought, whatever, you're just like a rebound for me anyways. Fast forward like almost a year and he had that one-way ticket to Australia. He was going to travel for the year. And I was so crushed and so in love, and deep down, I just knew that he was worth waiting for and that I wanted to get back together with him no matter what, when he came home, whenever that would be. So even though I tried to get over him that year, I tried to date other people, deep down in my gut knew that I wanted to be with him and he was worth waiting for me. Everyone thought I was crazy. My friends were sick of me crying about him. My parents thought like he sucked and that I was mental for even thinking about him still. But in my gut, I knew that he was my one, and we are here. Last but not least, one of my lessons that I also want to take into this new decade, because it's something I'm still working on, is less talking, more doing. And I feel like this can be applied to how my journey was with fitness. I was really obsessed with reading about fitness, and I subscribed to Women's Health magazine and Shape magazine. I was always consuming all this stuff about fitness, but I wasn't actually doing anything. I was often talking about like, oh, I really want to take up running, or I really want to be good at spinning. But I wasn't actually doing it. You have to do something to get better at it. You have to take action to achieve any type of results that you want. You can't just think about it. You can't just talk about it. And by the way, no one wants to hear about your idea over and over again. Just do it. Just do something. So this is something that I wanted to end off with, because I also really need to work on it and apply it to 2020 going forward, because I often think a lot about the things I want to do and the steps I want to take. I enrolled in a lot of business courses this year and I read a lot of books, but at the end of the day, nothing is going to work if you're not going to work. You have to take action. So I'm all about less consuming this year and more doing, less talking, more doing. It's all about action. There you have it. Those are my 5 life lessons of the past decade, the last 10 years. I can't believe we're entering into 2020. I hope that some of these resonated with you, and if not, you can apply them to the next decade and all the decades going forward. I hope that you like this video, and if it resonates, if you think that you want to share it with anyone, go ahead and do that. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because also goal of 2020 is more YouTube content for you guys, because I love doing it. And it's enough about the talking. We're taking action. All right, guys, see you later. See you in 2020.